6:13 a.m. on the 25th of December. A small town in Colorado, at the foot of the Rocky Mountains called Mizzurna Falls. A girl was found in woods on the outskirts of the town, swollen and smeared with blood. The girl, named Cassie Flannery, had scars by an animal's claws all over her body. It seems she was attacked by a bear. Thereafter, 7 a.m. on the same day, another girl, Emma Lowland, Cassie's high school classmate, is missing, and her mother has asked police to search her. The state police started their investigation on relevance between the two incidents. At the time of Christmas, it is nothing else than a tragedy that struck a peaceful town of a population of 2,000.
Hey there everybody, and welcome to Mizzurna Falls, a unique and possibly over-ambitious PS1 adventure title from '98 that is basically a big homage to Twin Peaks. Strangely, even though it is an homage to Twin Peaks, it never did see a US release, so I'm actually playing a fan translation made available from Resident Evie. So, let's go ahead and get our mystery started and see where it takes us. And after that peaceful, snow-laden opening, we find our chilly Christmas morning slumber unexpectedly interrupted by a mysterious phone call. It seems to be Winona, Matthew's good friend, though obviously we don't know that just as of yet. All these characters will be slowly introduced over time, but what's more important right now is why Winona happens to be calling so early on in the morning. Well, the reason for her early call is because something has happened to their friend Emma. And once Matthew hears that something strange happened to Emma, well, he is pretty quick to get out of bed and wake up. Yeah, it seems that Sarah, Emma's mom, was calling to see if Winona might know where Emma is. Emma has been missing since last night. And I get the impression that Winona and Emma were maybe supposed to be hanging out, on the Christmas Eve to maybe be celebrating, but in reality, it seems instead that maybe Emma and Matthew might have been hanging out. Still, a bit suspiciously, he is not very forthcoming with anything that might have happened last night. Instead, he wants to meet up later with Winona to try to collect their thoughts about what's been going on with Emma lately. For now, though, Winona is going to go check up on Sarah, Emma's mom, to make sure she's okay. She seemed rather, going a bit crazy. Yeah, just what has been going on with Emma is going to be a part of the overarching mystery here. I mean, things seemingly were a bit calm and normal, at least as a short time ago, but yeah, Emma is, I guess, apparently very enigmatic and alluring and attractive. She is pretty much going to be the Laura Palmer of our story here. Because as I mentioned in the opening, there is a lot of analogous themes between this game and Twin Peaks. And yeah, Matthew is, I'm going to say, kind of close to James Hurley, just not as doofy, I would say. He's not going to have any rocking, awkward singing escapades. But yeah, he is definitely very concerned about Emma's well-being, especially after the mysterious events of last night. And as such, it is now time to start our adventure proper, under the control of our protagonist here, Matthew. Now, there are a couple things we can do before we get our adventure started, though not in this room in particular. Instead, it's pretty important at the start of any morning to make sure to relieve ourselves of whatever built up over the night. I can only assume it was a very solid deuce. Though sadly, we are unable to wash our hands. Instead, we'll do the next best thing, which is just give ourselves a complete wash down. Now, I don't think our cleanliness will ever have any control over anything that happens in the game. This is mostly just a little, piece of flavor to make sure you are immersed in the world. But yeah, there's nothing really else to do in Matthew's room for right now, so let's go ahead and greet the world. And the first lovely little person that we are going to be greeting on this crisp Christmas morning is this little doggo here. Yet again, not really going to affect the story, just another interesting bit of background flavor amongst all the junk and wreckage back here. Immediately, we are greeted by another new character, Nas. Seems he wants something inside the store here. And since he seems so excitable, I mean, that's got to be prudent to the story, right? In fact, it is. And we meet the local sheriff, Morgenstein, or Mogenstein, as the weird translation in English decided to go with. Yeah, he is the town sheriff and a focal point of justice. Pretty trustworthy guy. Wanting to say he's kind of analogous to Harry Truman. But yeah, it seems that he is also on the hunt for some information regarding Emma. More than likely, he also got a call from Sarah this morning to try to figure out where Emma might be. Part of me kind of assumes at this point that it's a bit too early to fill out a missing persons report, but small town, I assume Morgan here has some time to go looking. Now, Matthew does mention that Emma was acting a bit strange, though he can't really put his finger on it, though I still get the apprehension that he is hiding something. Also, we get a short introduction to Captain Nas here, Matthew's uncle and the general store owner. He is more or less the guardian of Matthew, who he lets sleep in the weird little connected house on the back side of the building. But yeah, he assumes that as it is a holiday, Emma's probably just hanging out with some friends, so what's the big deal? And, obviously Morgan wants to make sure that it seems like just another normal day, just, trying to cover their bases, but yeah, there is something else strange going on with someone named Kathy Flannery. Kathy is related in some way to the local priest. And Nas definitely does not seem to have a very good opinion about little Kathy. But while Matthew does not know much about Kathy, it does seem like something bad happened to her in the early morning. It seems she was found badly injured. And strangely enough, she was found badly injured out in the middle of the forest. She was attacked by a bear. Nas lays down some information about how bears can get all surly if they don't go into hibernation, but yeah, why was Kathy out on Christmas Eve in the middle of the forest? And yeah, does this have something to do with Emma also being missing? Sadly, at this point, Morgan really doesn't have much to go on. He's just really trying to investigate things as they come. But before we can get any more information on Kathy, Nas decides to butt in and say that he'll totally kill that bear and get revenge. Still, for now, Morgan wants Matthew to join him to head over to the sheriff's department, maybe give him some information regarding what he might know about Emma and her location as of last night. Honestly, though, I'd personally be a bit wary if there was a missing persons case and another person assaulted by a bear, and I was asked to come down to the police station to do a bit of questioning. Kind of makes me feel like I would be the one under suspicion. Still, no, there's no reason right now to be apprehensive about it all, so I guess let's head over to the sheriff's department. Seems, though, that our trip to the sheriff's department is going to be on a bit of a detour, as we're going to head over to the hospital first. Yeah, Kathy has suddenly regained consciousness after that severe bear attack. I suppose there's no harm in Matthew going. Could easily give us some additional information in case Kathy did run into Emma last night. Still, before we are able to head into the hospital, Morgan does have, I don't want to say an impromptu interrogation scene with Matthew here. Probably still seems like he has Emma on his mind, and he still kind of worries about the fact that both Kathy and Emma managed to have a little bit of a scene or situation on this Christmas Eve. But yeah, Matthew, while good friends with Emma, doesn't really seem to have a clear understanding about Emma's mindset. He has some guesses. Definitely seems to have this idea that Emma is this deep pool of feeling and emotion. And it's something that I guess really didn't come across to just random people in town. But yeah, Matthew definitely has some unique views about Emma, kind of bordering on the creepy, I'd say. Especially going into the thought that she seems suicidal. Though I guess it was also an apprehension that Emma's mom had as well about her daughter. Still, overall, it seems like it's just a bit of an enigma regarding poor Emma. It just goes into the deeper question about how well do you actually know your friends? Especially when you can't have the same type of friendship that people of the same sex can have, I guess? Yeah, I don't know. Bit of a weird ending sentiment there, though I guess that means that there was the possibility of some romance there. But while we are waiting for the head doctor to meet us, we are introduced to yet another interesting character of Mizzurna Falls, Barbara. Seems to be under the delusion that Morgan here is going to bring her cigarettes, but considering her state, that might not be the best course of action for her health. Yeah, Barbara here is kind of our analogous log lady, a bit eccentric, though she does have possibly some useful things to say amongst all her strange sayings. Yeah, she just will kind of ramble off about her deep, depressing life here, and she seems a bit scatterbrained. And I suppose that's fine. That is kind of what happens as you get older in your life. But she does kind of lure us in with the idea that she does have something interesting to say. If only we had some cigarettes to give her. Also, unexpectedly, she does ask us if we are actually from Mizzurna. I guess maybe have some connection with the history of the town, though, as Morgan states, we don't really have time for this. We had to go check on Kathy, who has just regained consciousness. And I suppose news does travel fairly fast here in Mizzurna Falls, as it being a small place. Yeah, it's time to leave Barbara and head up to Kathy's room to check on the head doctor and see what the prognosis is. We will definitely keep that in mind going forward. There is a reason they want to quite clearly point this out to us, and it's not just for, humor's sake. And believe it or not, there is a little bit of humor hidden throughout the game, such as this really strange way of phrasing, I guess, psychosomatic trauma. Yeah, Barbara doesn't really seem afflicted with anything other than needing attention. I guess that's to bait us into thinking that we should probably just ignore her, but yeah, we will definitely be visiting Barbara again in the future. For now, though, as this is the prologue, we're just kind of railroaded along in the story. We just want to go ahead and follow Morgan. Though I don't know, I do kind of question, well, for one, his involvement in checking up on Kathy here, but also, I guess, his willingness to just let Matthew come along and visit Kathy as well. And in fact, his logic suddenly starts to kick in, and he thinks to himself, maybe we shouldn't let the teenager into the bare assault victim here. And I mean, that does make a lot of sense in the scheme of things. And either way, it works out in the end, because I assume they either have very thin walls here at this hospital, or they are just absolutely yelling inside the room, because we can just hear everything they're saying. We also do get something of an introduction to the head doctor of the hospital here, Samuel, though we'll learn more about him later on. Yeah, it seems that Kathy's physical wounds are not really that horrible or deep. It's more just that she is in a psychologically vegetative state. Something about last night, possibly with her bear attack, might have sent her brain into shutdown mode. And suddenly, out of nowhere, Samuel expresses his really horrible bedside manner. And I mean, I guess there's plenty of people that will argue out there whether or not, it's alright to keep someone brain dead alive on machinery, but it's pretty clear where Samuel stands in that realm of thinking. And suddenly, to make matters worse, there is another mysterious person in the room with them. I mean, yeah, I guess thankfully Kathy can't hear his thought process. But hey, it's Kathy's dad, Father Barton. And he is the head of the local church. And the people of the town obviously do trust him. It's also revealed here that he is not Kathy's actual father, and instead is just her adoptive dad. So he does seem to have a charitable side to him. So we give him the bad news that poor Kathy seems to be in a vegetative state, but if anything, Father Barton is just probably more or less happy that Kathy is alive in the first place. Also, not sure about this guy. I assume he's a doctor from what he's wearing. Not sure about that cold-eyed stare, though. But yeah, Father Barton doing his good priestly deeds. Obviously wants to try to bring solace to people in the community, even though, yeah, Samuel, man of science, has to argue with the healing power of faith. Doesn't seem like the best place to be doing that, though. And, well, just like that, poor Kathy has suddenly died. Yeah, I do kind of apologize for the rate at which the text was going across there. It was more or less an automatic, so... I mean, you probably got the gist of it. They were screaming, she went into shock, and just suddenly died. Yeah, Morgan seems to be taking it pretty hard. Yeah, while we don't directly get to meet poor Kathy, a part of my mind thinks she's supposed to be analogous to Ronette from Twin Peaks, who was supposed to have been with Laura Palmer and injured, though I guess that's kind of a stretch. We don't really get to know too much about Kathy, and I mean, a part of me wants to try going in there, but I don't think that's really the best idea. Still, just another layer of the mystery going on here. I mean, just why did she suddenly die like that? I mean, she seemed to not even be, truly there if what Samuel was saying was true, but it seems like something that just happened there suddenly snapped her out of it to the point where it just caused everything to shut down. Still, we should probably catch up with Renona and tell her all about that, though. Yeah, unexpectedly, we are stopped by that steely-eyed man from upstairs, James, the psychiatric counselor of the hospital. And it just so happens that he happens to know Matthew. And likewise, Matthew seems to know about him and his research into the local indigenous tribes of Colorado. Yeah, James Laloma is definitely a multifaceted character who I think is supposed to be analogous of Dr. Jacoby from Twin Peaks. He is a somewhat eccentric psychiatrist who is obviously very learned to the point where he could easily be a teacher at the local university, but seems to more keep himself to the hospital and, like I said, researching the indigenous tribes of the region. Still, there is a very good reason that he does happen to know Matthew's name. And it just so happens that it was some stuff that he had heard from Emma. Yeah, it seems that Matthew, I guess, was not privy to the fact that Emma had been seeking counseling from James here. I guess Matthew just kind of assumed that Emma would have internalized all her emotional strife, which seems a bit strange, I guess. Also, I'm not sure if he means the case of the bear attack and what happened with Kathy, or if he's talking about something going on with Emma. But he seems to take a very roundabout way of getting to things. Now, obviously, supernatural can mean a whole lot of things, but in the case of James here, he's more speaking about, ghosts, ESP, psychic abilities, things like that. And while Matthew does have something of an open mind, he personally has never come across anything like that himself. James, on the other hand, seems to be of the mindset that he has definitely run across some supernatural, inexplicable stuff. And I assume that's more or less coming up from his research into indigenous tribes and, probably being closer to the land, things like that. But, yeah, he does make a good point here, James does, regarding the fact that there's not really a supernatural and natural world. It's more probably down to what we can and cannot understand. I mean, what is the science of today but not the magic of yesteryear? Either way, Matthew tries to get back to the point of what does this have to do with Emma? And apparently James is under the conception that there's just a whole lot of supernatural nonsense going on with this, and yeah, I have no doubt that his office is probably full of dream catchers and magical crystals, but yeah, Matthew wants to try to deal with, let's say, science and reality. He wants to know whether or not there's something abnormal going on with Emma. And obviously James doesn't want to go too deep into what is normal and abnormal, but she did seem to be having strange dreams. And also she was having what he calls philosophical doubts. And obviously Matthew knows that she was going through some philosophical turmoil, but James here goes a bit more in depth into what he was told about it, which is, well, she kind of questioned whether or not she was, truly alive. Obviously, on a physiological standpoint, she wasn't the Walking Dead. She is obviously very physically alive. But it seems she did have some questions about, deeper down, was she truly alive? And, that's completely reasonable. I mean, people, don't just want to live day to day surviving. They want to know if they are existing and have a purpose. And yeah, being a young, kind of lackadaisical teenager, that's a bit lost on Matthew, but as James points out, it's not really abnormal. It's just kind of questioning, who you are and what your purpose is in life. I don't think he sees. But yeah, beyond that philosophical doubt, there's also the strangeness of the dream. And sometimes dreams are a bit inexplicable or difficult to explain. In this case, the doctor kind of is all over the place with it. She seemed to be in some ethereal, space and time, and Matthew thinks, oh, you mean like heaven? But yeah, I don't think it's heaven, unless of course you're into vor, because she seemed to be melting and eaten in the stream by animals and then being reborn in some other form. And Matthew, as always, is super sensitive. I can't even begin to wonder why Emma would not have been forthcoming with any of this. But yeah, in the end, if anything, James was just very certain that not only was Emma struggling mentally, but she seemed very scared of something. And considering that Matthew seemed to be of the apprehension that Emma was also suicidal, it seems even more dire that we do figure out where Emma is. But yeah, we can't really question James anymore. He's got to get back to his doctorly duties. He does mention that we should talk to him a bit more, and that if we do want to talk, he will be having a drink at the local bar, Bar Wolves, around 8 p.m. So we will definitely want to be keeping that in mind going forward. Definitely a lot to keep in mind there, though much like with Barbara, it's a bit questionable how much we actually want to take more than a grain of salt. But yeah, after that cavalcade of characters, I think we should probably head to the sheriff's department, right? We are not done yet being introduced to all the characters we can be. We finally do get a face-to-face meeting with our friend. Definitely not Molly Ringwald. I'd say to some measure she is probably Donna Haywood in this story, though. Yeah, as of right now, she is more or less just Emma's best friend and, good friends with Matthew. Yeah, she stopped by the sheriff's department and was told that Matthew would be here with Morgan. And she has already heard the very sad news involving poor Kathy. It is with Kathy's unexpected demise that Morgan really got kicked into high gear with treating Emma as a missing person and not just a reckless teen out having fun. Yeah, it is a bit, suspect at this point that, something did happen to Emma and Kathy on the same night, but they... As far as we know, as far as Matthew knows, they weren't really friends or connected in any way, outside of they were out last night somewhere in the town. And there still is the overarching question of, what did happen to Emma? And yeah, instead of just sitting around worrying, doing nothing, there are some proactive things we can be doing to help. And Matthew is going to make his way to go talk to the sheriff a bit more. And I guess Winona really hasn't made her way over to Emma's house just yet, so she does still want to go check on Emma's mom. But hey, Winona did at least drive our sweet VW bug over here. Yeah, old Captain Nas didn't mind just handing the keys over to Winona. Which does work out for us in the end. I mean, we can be nice enough to drive Winona over to Emma's house. Though she probably just wants to clear her head on this cool, crisp Christmas morning. So she's just going to go for a walk. While we are going to head over to the sheriff's department and continue our investigation. Though that is going to have to hold off until next time. Yeah, we are now done with the prologue, and next time we will be starting the game proper. So hopefully you will join me then as we continue to suss out the mystery of what happened to young Emma. See you then.